The operations presented in this video are meant to be instructional to ensure quality construction. This video is not intended to provide a comprehensive overview of safety procedures. All parties should ensure that they are familiar with and follow all safety requirements, policies, and procedures that apply to their specific operation. While many factors play a role in final bridge deck construction, this video training series will cover bridge deck placement with a pump and the initial concrete testing for Class AAAP concrete. We will begin after the bridge deck pre-placement activities have been completed. This video is intended to provide some basic understanding of the items important during the construction of quality reinforced concrete bridge decks cast in place, with focus on the concrete testing for quality control and acceptance for bridge deck placement operations using the pump truck method type of placement. The applicable documents needed for bridge deck construction testing and placement by the pump truck method are Publication 408, Section 1001, Cement Concrete Structures. Publication 408, Section 704, Cement Concrete. BC Standards 732M, Permanent Metal Deck Forms. BC Standards 752M, Concrete Deck Details. Approved Contract Structural Plans. Approved CS 704 Minimum Quality Control Plan for Field Placement Concrete Operations. Approved Bridge Deck Placement Plan. Approved Concrete Mix Design Class AAAP. PTM number 601, Obtaining Samples of Fresh Concrete. AASHTO T119 Slump Test. AASHTO T152 Air Content Test. ASTM C1064 Temperature Test. And Concrete Field Testing Technician Certification Training Manual. The concrete type to be used for all bridge decks is Class AAAP. AAAP bridge deck concrete requires a 7-day minimum compressive strength of 3,000 psi and a minimum 28-day compressive strength of 4,000 psi. AAAP requires a minimum water-to-cement ratio of 0.40 pounds per pound and a maximum water-to-cement ratio of 0.45 pounds per pound. AAAP has a maximum upper slump limit of 5 inches. The concrete temperature after mixing and prior to deck placement is to be between 50 degrees Fahrenheit and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Special retarding and/or water-reducing admixtures are often used in the AAAP deck mix to control rapid drying of the concrete due to low humidity, wind, high ambient air temperature, and the concrete's set time to allow for proper finishing and curing. The following are the concrete test types that may be encountered for bridge decks. Acceptance testing. The department's overall concrete acceptance process includes a combination of quality control, acceptance, verification, and quality assurance sampling and testing. Lot sizes are established by the department for the appropriate type of construction being performed as per Section 704, Table B of Publication 408. Acceptance samples will be obtained and tested by the contractor, witnessed by the department representative. For example, bridge deck is being placed, reference Table B, which indicates the construction area would be structural concrete requiring a 100 cubic yard lot size. These acceptance lots are established daily and do not continue from one day to the next. Quality control testing. To be performed by the contractor's concrete field testing technician for slump, air content, and temperature, as noted in the approved quality control plan and Publication 408, Section 704.1. Verification testing. To be performed by the department representative from the same sample of material obtained for the initial acceptance sample, which shall be tested for air content and temperature as per Section 704.1 of Publication 408. Quality assurance testing. When required, to be performed by the contractor's concrete field testing technician for slump, air content, temperature, and witnessed by QA representative as per Publication 408, Section 704.1. A certified concrete field testing technician is required for the testing of concrete in the plastic and hardened state. The concrete field technician must be knowledgeable of the requirements of the department reviewed and approved quality control plan during the testing, and must be aware of the test target and range values for slump, temperature, and plastic air content of the Class AAAP mix being placed. Quality control testing must be performed until material control for the AAAP is achieved. Material control is considered established when all test results of concrete temperature, air content, and slump of 3 consecutive trucks are determined to be within the established action points. Do not establish action points for slump at either the upper or lower specification limits. If a quality control or acceptance test exceeds the upper or lower action points, the testing frequency shall be increased to every truck until material control is reestablished and the plant technician shall be notified. Perform sampling of the concrete class AAAP mix in accordance with PTM number 601 of Publication 19, obtaining samples of fresh concrete. Sample to be obtained from the first 1/3 of the batch and subsequent points when required. Perform plastic air content testing in accordance with AASHTO T152. Perform slump testing in accordance with AASHTO T119. Perform temperature testing in accordance with ASTM C1064. The testing facilities and equipment are to be provided by the contractor or producer as outlined in Section 704.1 of Publication 408. Slump test requirements for bridge decks. Perform slump testing in accordance with AASHTO T119 as follows. Concrete consistency at the time of deck placement is to be maintained within 1.5 inches of the selected target slump value noted on the approved quality control plan. If the upper slump limit of 5 inches for AAAP is exceeded on any slump test, the certified concrete field testing technician shall reject the concrete load. If any slump test result falls outside the target range noted on the approved quality control plan, and has not exceeded the upper slump limit of 5 inches for AAAP, immediately perform the air content and temperature tests from the same sample. If the air content and concrete temperature tests are within the specified slump limits, the contractor may incorporate the material into the work, provided a full set of quality control and acceptance compressive cylinders are molded in addition to the cylinders made for the originally selected PTM number 1 acceptance sample location for compressive strength testing. If one or more truckloads of cement concrete exceed the slump target range, make additional quality control and acceptance cylinders from each load. Use the lowest compressive strength cylinder result for acceptance of the lot. The adjustment of slump may be allowed through the addition of additional water reducer admixture at the job site, provided a comprehensive procedure detailed in the quality control plan has been submitted and approved for this purpose. The addition of water to adjust for slump, when permitted, must be from a metered system. Air content testing for bridge decks. Perform plastic air content testing in accordance with AASHTO T152 and as follows. AAAP concrete mixes are to have a plastic air content of 7.0% plus or minus 1.5%, which is a range of 5.5% to 8.5%. 2 sets of calibrated air meters are to be available at each concrete placement on the project, with 1 set as a backup. Concrete temperature testing for bridge decks. Perform temperature testing in accordance with ASTM C1064 and as follows. The plastic AAAP concrete temperature for bridge deck placement must be between 50 degrees Fahrenheit and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Have a minimum of 2 concrete thermometers available for use during temperature testing. Evaporation rates for bridge decks, as per Publication 408, Section 1001.3. Do not exceed an evaporation rate of 0.06 pounds per square foot per hour before starting the deck placement and every hour during the placement. If the evaporation rate value is exceeded, stop the concrete deck placement until protective measures are taken to reduce values to an acceptable level. Ambient conditions during bridge deck placement, as per Publication 408, Section 1001.3. Do not proceed with mixing and placement operations if the forecasted ambient temperature is expected to reach 80 degrees Fahrenheit within the scheduled placement time, or if the evaporation rate will exceed 0.06 pounds per square foot per hour. Unless otherwise authorized in writing by the department, Do not start the deck placement operation until the ambient air temperature is a minimum of 40 degrees Fahrenheit and rising, and is predicted to stay above 40 degrees Fahrenheit throughout the entire deck placement operation. Do not exceed the evaporation rate of 0.06 pounds per square foot per hour prior to and during the bridge deck concrete placement operation. Cool weather is defined in Publication 408 as when concrete is placed at an air temperature below 50 degrees Fahrenheit but above 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Cold weather is defined in Publication 408 as when concrete is placed at an air temperature below 35 degrees Fahrenheit. It is important here to be aware of the forecasted weather on the date of the scheduled deck placement, as this will be a deciding factor on proceeding with the placement or postponing or canceling for another day. Equipment used for concrete bridge deck placement. Concrete placement equipment may include or combine either a pump truck, crane, and bucket, or conveyors, such as a telebelt, to place the Class AAAP concrete deck mix that has been delivered from the concrete supplier delivery trucks. Concrete vibrators are important for proper consolidation of the AAAP concrete around the reinforcement steel and formwork during placement, and should take place ahead of the bidwell finishing machine. A concrete bidwell finishing machine is most widely used for most bridge deck placements. It is used for the initial concrete strike-off and consolidation of the as-placed concrete and for final design grade control of the plan deck elevation grades. The use of a bidwell machine must include a backup machine and/or motor and spare parts in case of breakdown. A water fogging system is required in case of evaporation rates being exceeded during the deck placement. Evaporation rate monitoring device used to monitor the evaporation rate conditions prior to and during the deck placement operations. Various hand tools, such as concrete lutes and shovels, water hoses for pre-wetting the deck ahead of concrete placement, power tools, generators, compressors, including backup equipment when required, and other miscellaneous tools and materials may be used during a deck placement operation. The following is an example of the processes involved during the initial stages of a concrete bridge deck testing and placement. We will assume here that concrete Class AAAP will be placed for a bridge deck with a pump truck. The pump truck will be set up at abutment 1, at approximately the same grade elevation as the constructed bridge deck. The total estimated quantity of AAAP to be placed will be 80 cubic yards. The current weather forecast and ambient temperatures have been checked and approved to proceed. The first delivered concrete load of 10 cubic yards has just arrived on site. The pump placement will commence from abutment 2 side toward abutment 1, as indicated on the contract bridge deck placement sequence plans. Acceptance concrete lot number 1 was calculated to be on cubic yard 45, which would be on delivered load number 5. Proceed with concrete testing for pump placement load 1 as follows. Collect the truck delivery slip and batcher mixer slip, and reference the approved AAAP concrete mix design matches what is being delivered, i.e. supplier code, job mix formula, material class. Immediately calculate to verify the water-cement ratio of the delivered concrete mix meets mix design, and the minimum and maximum water-cement values for AAAP as delivered. The initial sample location for quality control and acceptance sampling for a pump truck placement will be determined daily on the first load of concrete and then for every 200 cubic yards thereafter. Obtain the concrete sample for testing from the first delivery truck as per PTM 601. Test the concrete for temperature, slump, and air content. Record these results. Tests must meet specification requirements. Immediately obtain an initial evaporation rate reading from on the bridge deck. Record these results. Prime the pump accordingly. Then discharge waste of the remaining prime material from the pump at a designated area prior to obtaining the concrete sample for testing. Position the pump at the most severe boom configuration, vertical or horizontal, that will be encountered during the deck placement. Test the concrete for temperature, slump, and air content. Record these results. Tests must meet tolerance requirements. Confirm the concrete testing result values for slump, air content, and temperature are within the required specification ranges and action points, as noted within the approved quality control plan. Immediately compare the recorded slump and air content values from the load number 1 delivery truck tests and the pump tests. If the test results for air content are within 1% of each other and the slump results are within 1 inch of each other, the remaining quality control and acceptance testing can be completed prior to placement into the pump at the delivery truck discharge. If the slump and air content values do not meet, then acceptance testing will be performed at the discharge end of the pump discharge. Continue with the quality control acceptance testing of the delivered concrete until material control of the AAAP is established. Quality control, or QC testing, is required on the first 3 consecutive concrete delivery loads for material control, regardless of the method for placement. Material control is considered established when the test results of the first 3 loads are within established action points for air content, slump, and temperature. Once this is established, the frequency of testing may be reduced to a minimum of 1 quality control test per 50 cubic yards. Material control example for slump. The selected target slump noted above in this QC plan is 3.5 inches. Take note of the required action points. Truckload number 1 has a slump test result of 4 inches. Truckload number 2 has a slump test result of 4.5 inches. Truckload number 3 has a slump test result of 4 3/4 inches. Has material control been established, and can the frequency of testing be reduced to once every 50 cubic yards? No. The third QC test exceeds the upper action point of 4.5 inches, so the QC testing frequency will be increased to every truckload until material control has been established. Note: all 3 QC concrete tests, slump, air content, and temperature, need to be within their individual established action points for the first 3 consecutive delivery loads for the concrete mix to be considered having material control established. If either one of the 3 tests fall outside of the individual action points, the QC testing frequency will be increased to every truckload until material control is established. Continue with concrete testing and sampling as per the approved quality control plan throughout the pump placement. At this point, let's assume that the concrete testing for slump, air content, and temperature has met all test requirements, and the pump correlation test on the first load for air and slump was met. The next step would be to proceed with the AAAP concrete placement from the pump discharge onto the prepared bridge deck. Determine the evaporation rate prior to placement, and then continue monitoring the evaporation rate every hour during the deck placement. Document the results. Do not exceed 0.06 pounds per square foot per hour. If required, pre-wet the bridge deck ahead of the placement. From pump discharge, do not drop the concrete mixture vertically a distance greater than 5 feet, or discharge concrete near side laps or at a midspan of the stay-in-place corrugated sheet forms to a depth greater than 10 inches above the top of the stay-in-place deck pans. And do not discharge concrete in a manner that causes excessive concentrated loads. Use vibrators to vibrate the plastic concrete on the deck to prevent voids, especially at construction joints, expansion joints, valleys, and end of the form sheets. Close any boot prints in the plastic concrete as the placement progresses. Use a motorized mechanical finishing machine, such as a bidwell capable of applying initial vibration to the plastic deck surface, using a separate attachment, RotoVibe, from the machine manufacturer or by other means approved by the department. The bidwell should be large enough to finish the full width of the deck as constructed, placed onto temporary rails, supported on non-deflecting forms or other horizontal structure devices, set to proposed deck grades. Fix supports as needed during the deck placement, at intervals to limit deflection, to not more than 1/8 inch in 10 feet. Use supports that are removable to at least 2 inches below the deck concrete surface with minimum disturbance of the concrete. Place the concrete at a minimum rate of 20 linear feet of deck per hour in a longitudinal direction. Place concrete no greater than 5 feet ahead of the bidwell, unless the concrete will be finished within 15 minutes. Perform wet depth concrete checks during the deck placement and compare the measurements to the previously performed dry run depth checks and note any deficiencies immediately. Continuously check the falsework or supporting beams so the concrete as placed meets the lines and grades indicated on the plan. Keep wedges, forms, and blocking tight during placement of the concrete. Correct any deficiencies immediately. When applicable, adjust the bridge deck openings at the expansion joints and at expansion dams at the time concrete is placed to provide the openings indicated at 68 degrees Fahrenheit under full dead load. Do not allow truck mixers, agitators, or other heavy motorized equipment on the deck spans in which concrete is being placed. The contractor is to provide and have ready enough materials at the worksite during the concrete deck placement to protect the bridge deck concrete against rain before initial set. If rainfall begins, stop placement operations and immediately cover the concrete with protective materials, and if necessary, stop operations due to weather or operational conditions. Provide bulkheads at the worksite and place them as directed. Some final points to remember concerning this video series. Material. A concrete mix design AAAP has been reviewed and approved for use by the district representative and is on file at the project. Equipment. The method of concrete placement, pump, crane and bucket, or conveyor. Finishing machine type, and any proposed remediation equipment or materials that should be in place. Sequence of deck placement and procedure. The contractor's QC plan for the deck placement should be reviewed and approved prior to work starting. Concrete testing. The QC plan for concrete testing and acceptance has been reviewed and approved and is on file at the project. Testing frequency for QC, acceptance, and verification has been discussed, along with the required ranges and action points for slump, air content, and temperature. Concrete technician certifications are current. If placement is by pump, witness the correlation testing required as per Publication 408, Section 1001.3, to determine the sampling locations, i.e. at the back of the truck or at the point of placement.